Yeah, this is good. All right, I'm all excited, aren't I? Yeah, definitely. So in this next story, it's a healing, a miracle healing of a wonderful guy. I believe he definitely is in heaven. Not that it says it here, but oh, this guy, what a guy. His name is pretty cool. It's Bar, which means son of, and then it's Timaeus. Bartimaeus is how it's pronounced. And this dude, whew, by the way, Bar means son of, Bartimaeus. I mean, Timaeus means actually unclean. Son of the unclean one. But anyway, names don't always identify what the type of person is. But this is a son of a guy named Timaeus. Now, Timaeus may be a person who's known by Mark's community. This is Book of Mark, in that church, and so he mentioned him. And this guy might have been, I think he became a follower of Jesus, no doubt. He was blind. And Jesus healed 6 times, at least it's recorded. I think he did a lot more, but there's actual 6 stories of 6 different people that were healed who were blind. Now, this guy might not have been born blind, like in John 9, that guy. He was born blind. This guy might have needed to be restored, because it says the actual Greek word when Jesus healed him. Imagine that, healing a blind man, is that he restored sight. And so it seems like he may have gone blind. And by the way, in that time period, they don't have the medicine, the hospitals, and everything else. I mean, there were a lot of problems with the eyes in that time. The dust from the ground, real fine dust, would actually get and injure eyes and damage them. It's predicted, this might be a little strong, but it's predicted that 1 out of 5 men had problems with eyes. Some of them were blind, has partial blind difficulties. I have sort of a blindness. I have to wear contacts and I have to wear glasses. But I mean, it was pretty serious in that time. One guy went through a village, by the way, years and years ago, and I think he said half of the guys were maybe blind or partially blind or something. Women may have not had it as much because they veiled themselves, with some sort of veil, so it was a protection. And there's also a disease that was popular. I can't think of the name. It starts with the letter O. Anyway, especially among children. So there was diseases and everything. They're really, really intense. But Jesus came to heal the blind. As a matter of fact, the Bible says in Luke 4, in his inaugural, that's a big word for you young ones, his first address, like his first speech at a synagogue, his own synagogue at Nazareth, said the Spirit, he's quoting, by the way, Isaiah 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted. And recovering of sight to the blind is one of those phrases right there. Literally, he healed literal people blind. I'm going so fast. By the way, that's a prediction. It's a fulfillment of Isaiah 35 and throughout Isaiah. And that he would come, the Messiah would come and heal blind, unstop deaf ears, people, those who are lame will leap and walk. Anyway, this guy leaps, by the way. Wait till we get to it. I'm not going to be able to do this in one video unless you want to sit and listen to me for an hour. I didn't think so. Well, I don't know. Maybe you like this. I love talking about this. Let me just kind of skim across the story real quick, and this is part 1. It says, and they came to Jericho. Oops, let me stop right there. And we might just, let me read it. I don't know. As Jesus, I want to talk about Jericho. What a city that was. It says, and Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city. They were exiting the city here of Jericho. A blind man, Bartimaeus, that is the son of Timaeus, not Timaeus, it's another one. Timaeus, it says, was sitting by the roadside begging. Let me go. I want to talk about each one of these. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, the actual Greek there is Jesus of Nazarene, which might kind of indicate some deeper stuff, which we won't get into. He was from Nazareth, but in the Greek, not the English, it says Nazarene. He began to shout, just out loud. He said, Yeshua, or Jesus, Bar David, which is David, son of David, have mercy on me. He said, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. That's significant. We'll get into those later. See, it's all so good. It's so, when you go down into the Bible deeper, it's really exciting. Many rebuked him. They really came at him and told him to be quiet. Just be quiet. Silence. Actually, maybe it's so strong it could be, you don't want to say this very often, shut up, be quiet. So it says, be quiet. But he shouted all the more. He was like, and he shouted. I think he was shouting at the top of his lungs. Jesus! Really strong. Jesus, son of David! And the Greek says he's doing it over and over and over and over, and he just kept, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus, son of David. It got louder. And they said, stop talking. And by the way, I just want to mention this real quick, that maybe they just didn't want to interrupt Jesus. A lot of times rabbis would sit and talk, but a lot of times they would teach as they walked, and all these followers around him, he's teaching. And so they said, be quiet, he's talking. They didn't want to interrupt Jesus. They didn't want him to interrupt Jesus. He didn't care. He just yelled it out. What was Jesus' response? Okay, we're not going to even tell you until the next video. Just kidding. I hope you read this. This is Mark 10:46 to the end. We're actually at the end here of Mark 10, and we're going to do a review a little bit later. And what was Jesus' response? He stopped. And the Greek says he stopped still. Here he is walking. He's headed towards Jerusalem. Okay, he's headed to die. And I believe Jesus' heart is heavy here and sorrowful, and like he's really, what he's going to go through, and his love for all these people who are sinners and all that. He's walking and he stops. He didn't say, I got to keep going. I'm not going to answer this guy. No, he stopped still. And he said, call him. I love it. Call him over here. Bring him to me. I love that. So they called to the blind man. All of a sudden, the same crowd, I think, probably that was yelling at him, be quiet, hush, like this. They said, cheer up, take courage. They got all like, quick, go wait. Like they changed people can change real fast. They said, cheer up, on your feet. And boy, did he spring up on his feet. He jumped up real quick. He's calling you, throwing his cloak aside. What does that mean? We'll talk about that in another video coming up here. Be sure and listen to all this. It's all good. Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet. He leaped and came to Jesus. Now he's blind. Maybe someone led him, or he heard his voice and, where are you? We don't know all the details here, but anyway, someone may have led him. Maybe it was, possibly they was partially blind, like he really couldn't see, but maybe it was very blurred. I think it was completely, but who knows? And this is what Jesus said. He asked, what do you want me to do for you? That's good. By the way, there's a lot of promises that Jesus said, what do you want me to do? I mean, he didn't say quite that. Ask whatever you will and all that. Those are the same exact words that he asked James and John. When, remember, they were trying to get Jesus to say, grant us, this request. Please tell us. He said, what do you want me to do for you? Same exact words. The blind man said, now this says rabbi, it's Rabboni, which we'll talk about later. I want to see. Oh, my heart goes out. I want to see. By the way, I want to see too. Don't you want to see? You say, well, Gordon, I'm looking at you. Can you see me? Maybe you're looking at me. Maybe you are blind here. Jesus can heal the blind. But he saw, and they didn't very well, and we'll explain that too. But I want to see, by the way, I want to see Jesus. And by the way, it's the first person I think he really saw. His eyes were open, and there's the Messiah, the son of David. Wow, cool. And then he says, I want to see. I love that thing. And Jesus said, go. Now, he said that over and over to people. Go, 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 like go do this, go. He said, go your way. He says, your faith has healed you. We'll talk about that one. That's loaded. Your faith has healed you. Immediately. And that's one of the favorite phrases. If you've been with me for a while, go back and listen to all the ones on Mark. Straight away, just boom, right away. Immediately. Mark likes that, but it actually happened. Immediately he received his sight. Can you believe it? I mean, like, wow. Bam, his sight was there. Woo! I've had immediate physical healing before, by the way. Total pain, racked from neck down all the way. My muscles were killing me. And I stopped. It wasn't killing me unless I was moving. I was moving. And then I stopped. I asked God to heal me. I was a new Christian, and he healed me completely. Pain gone immediately. Wow, was that so cool? That's surprising. Like, it was cool. Your faith has healed you. Immediately received the sight. I like this last part, which we'll talk about. And followed Jesus along the road. He was on the side of the road. Now he's on the road. We'll be back. No, I'll go a little bit further. You go, Gordon, that's too much, too little. Well, maybe you say it's too much. I don't know. I just want to touch one thing real quick about Jericho. It's a cool thing about Jericho. By the way, it's the oldest city, most likely in the world. It's said to be the oldest city. Some carbon dating and all that, they said it's like 9,000 BC. It might be too far back, you know, but maybe. I mean, it's possible. Some people believe that Jesus, I mean, if you put, anyway, well, I'll just say this. From Adam to Jesus, it was 4,000 years, but there are parts of, it was just an outline of genealogy. We don't know exactly how long. Could have been 6,000, 10,000, 9,000 BC. I don't know. It could have been 3,000 or 4,000 BC. But anyway, the prediction is that this city right here, which is where it was, still is there. This is Jerusalem. There's Jericho. It's in Judea. They came down, if you remember in the past stories, they probably came down on this side of the river. Most of the Jews did not go through Samaria, although Jesus did. Occasionally he did. But he was coming with all the pilgrims, all the crowds they came down here because they didn't want to go through this area because they didn't like Samaria. Of course, Jesus did. You know, he loved the Samaritans. But they came down here, the pilgrims, a lot of the Jews who come down here to avoid going there, like they came from Galilee all the way here. And then they would pass through Jericho, and then they would go up to Jerusalem right there. And from Jericho to the river here is about 5 miles. From here to Dead Sea was about 10 miles. As a matter of fact, I'll show you another quick picture of this. There's actually 3 Jerichos. Isn't that interesting? The word Jericho means city of the moon. Or it could be balsam. There's beautiful palm trees. It's a city known for a lot of palm trees. Really beautiful area, by the way. And balsam plant, like a beautiful flowery plant and all. And that could have been what the word Jericho means. Or it literally means Jericho is a moon, and it's city of the moon. Which, by the way, could have been, and probably, way back in the days of Canaan, you know, in Old Testament times, that they worshiped the moon. People were worshiping different things. So that's why they named that city that Jericho. So here's the Dead Sea down here. Here's the River Jordan. This is where they came down. I've kind of made this, enlarged it, made it larger. And then 10 miles. This is the New Testament where Jesus went. Oh, you say 3. There's an Old Testament Jericho. And I don't have the exact shape here. Old Testament Jericho, New Testament Jericho, and this is a modern Jericho. So from here to here is about 5 miles. From here to here is 10. I didn't do great proportion. This should have been further up here more. But anyway, that's kind of what we're talking about. So Old Testament, if you know, that was kind of destroyed, and the walls came tumbling down, you know, with Joshua and that story in the book of Joshua, I think chapter 5 and 6 and all that. So that's Joshua, you know, remember the walls came down, if you know that story. Then they rebuilt the new Jericho. By the way, they also, I don't think God necessarily wanted it, but they kind of rebuilt partially the Old Testament, and there were people who lived during the New Testament times, there were actually a population probably in the Old Testament Jericho. They kind of rebuilt some of it. Not sure that he wanted that, but they did. The New Testament Jericho is the one that Jesus went through. And this is the modern, there's a modern. And I got to visit this. I didn't stay in all of them, but I saw it from a distance, you know, the Jericho. So there's really 3 Jerichos there. And I think I'll finish on that, and we'll get more into what Jericho was like probably, and just what this story is. It's really good. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay with me. Read it if you want. Just read it like a couple times or something. You'll get a lot out of it. There's such wonderful stuff in this. So thank you for listening. God bless you. God bless you.